Ike's.
Did you notice that recently movies and TV shows are just getting ridiculously dark? Why? Let's try to solve that mystery. Oh, one more thing. When I recorded the section you're about to watch, I was dead sick. So my energy level might not be where it usually is at. So just letting you guys know. Let's jump in. So we'll start with the classic horror look. So this is from The Ring, came out in 2002, and that is the epitome of like a horror look. A lot of other horror movies built their looks upon this, all the Saw movies. This one is more bleach bypassy, right? So like look at the highlights, and that's what gives it like a really crazy contrast, and we can see it here, whereas like with Saw, they just went nuts with colors and color separation. And in the vector scope, we can see that this mostly lives in one quadrant, and that's also the separation between, say, something like this and all the Saw movies. This is 2002, so this is around that time when digital intermediary or DI is becoming a thing. Because before, you shoot something on film, you can color time it, meaning you can just use your printer lights to make it blue, red, green, right? So those are your options. But then after DI, people start experimenting with it. So in the beginning, we always see these examples that are like really over the top, and I love them. You guys know me, and you guys know that I live for push looks. Another thing that I want to tell you, this is also determined by the TV technology back in the day. There is no concept of HDR back in 2002. To maximize what's happening on the screen, everything was like really pushed. We go to this example, just look at the highlights. You won't necessarily see that today. Things are not going to be this pushed, this crazy. Then we go to this shot, and obviously with the restrictions of like the cameras back in the day, yes, it's shot on film, but still it can only record X amount of dynamic range, right? So we get to see like how blacks are gone, like the shadow detail doesn't exist there, the highlights don't exist there, right? It's a preference. I like it, but this to me is not a current hot look. This topic is subjective, so everybody's going to have a different opinion. Now we move on to the poster child of like what 2024 horror movie slash TV look looks like to me. This show, graded by Jill, just insane. If we go to interior shot like this and we look at that to like where everything is sitting, keep that in mind. And then we go to this, which is also an interior shot. So just like look at the difference, like where the brightest parts are sitting in this frame compared to where the brightest parts are sitting in that frame. So let's just say you say this is not fair, she's in the library or something. This is like they're going to sleep. Great. Let's change the shots. Let's just go to like a bright shot, daylit bright shot, something like that. Let me take the sizing reference and let's pan it. Okay, so even if we look at something like this, these two, you can clearly see this is supposed to be literally daylight. And even then, it's not as bright or as contrasty as what we're seeing here. Another thing that you're going to notice is that the overall contrast is really gentle and it's like lifted. It will never zero out. Another thing that I love about it, if I just go to this frame, is you'll notice a really nice misty feel, almost like a black frost or one of those like filters applied on the lens, right? So like we get like this really nice glowy feel. And I love that because when we're talking about horror, we're already talking about something that's supernatural. It might or might not be real, depending on your beliefs, your religion. So to create somewhat of a surreal vibe is always a plus because it's uneasy, it's unsettling because this is not what I'm seeing with my own eyes. Let's go through some other shots. Now look at this, even the highlights. Look where everything is sitting. So let me go here and click on this so we can actually see where everything is at. Change that to qualifier. I mean, come on. These are like highlights that are sitting at like below 256, right? Why? Because when I saw this show, I had such a crazy visceral reaction. I just kept going like this. Like what's happening? What's behind it? And this sort of interaction is everything. As a cinematographer, as a director, as an editor, that's the emotion that they're playing with. That people are gonna scream, people are gonna laugh, people are gonna jump, all that. When you get to accomplish that through color grading, that's a whole another level. So just look at that. Like, is there something behind her? Like, what is this? Is this thing gonna pop up? My brain is just going nuts because of the TVs that we have and the technology that we have. Colorist and DI can pull this off. That's why season 8 of Game of Thrones got so much criticism. But people that just didn't pick up the cheapest TV on sale didn't complain. They loved that season. Let me take that back. I don't want to get slaughtered. It's not my favorite season in terms of the story and all the other 800 things. It is one of my favorite seasons in terms of the look because they just went there. Okay, episode 3, where they fight the walkers. I watched it on a pretty good TV. I watched it on C10 77-inch. So I saw it like without any issues. Moving on to the next shot. Look at the palette that she's playing with, right? Like, let's get the luminance through the blue channel. Let's kill the red channel. Let's have the greens up a little bit so like, we can counter that. So it's not just like Terminator blue, right? That's what I consider like a true blue. This look is heavy. This is not what you get in camera. I don't give a like what kind of lighting you're doing or what's happening. Like, a lot of this is created in post. This is a very stylized look, and you'll see it in the waveform. It's lifted. You want to keep some detail there. That's what makes it look so cinematic and film-like in 2024. This was genuinely so freaking creepy because you see it, you don't necessarily see it. Right? Like, is it his hand? Okay, it's not his hand. So then what is that? And there's so much going on, but everything is living just right here. Okay, let's hover over here. Look at where it is. 128. Where's this at? 128. Where's the highlights at? The highest highlight is sitting at 384. Let's pull up this image, flip it. Let's reset it. And let's change this to that. And look at the highlights here to the highlights here that are coming through the window. And that's what's creating that uneasy vibe. Same thing here. Look at the fingers. You can barely like make out what is really happening. And with horror stuff, that is your job. Your job is not to just put everything on a plate and show me the monster. I want you to put the monster in the shadow and just give me little glimpses that I can catch in the highlights. Look at this. Not seeing her face is trillion times worse than actually seeing her face. The most important information, if the legs are gonna move or something like that, this is a person on the bed, we're gonna see that. That's all we wanna see. We don't care about this. We don't care about this. If anything, it's becoming even crazier to like know what the hell is lurking in there. And we just see this. Look at the exterior shots. Obviously, this is like a lot to do with like cinematography and smoke and all that. But still, the thing that's happening here is that there's never a true black at the bottom. There's always a different color down here. So right now we have blue undertones. We can see it right here. That's why I love colorized waveform. If I go here and turn on colorize and on the Y channel, we get to see like what color lives where. Teal undertones, blue undertones, steel undertones, steel undertones. One more thing that I will say, a pro tip would be modern day horror looks, or just in general, if you want to create a pretty good horror look, I would rather suggest using Fuji 3513 over Kodak 2383. That's just my preference because it gives you the gunky green undertones that are really hard to create with 2383. Look at this. It's so different. Right? So like this one is a very close match to that, right? Like, so that's like 2002, 2024. Obviously it came out in 2021 or something like that, but you get the idea. Throw it on a big screen, let it kick in Dolby Vision or even like 709 and just give you an image to die for. This is supposed to be pretty pushed, but there's like crazy blue undertones. We can see it right here in our parade because once you start recognizing these patterns, it's really easy to just go, oh, like my blues are really lifted. The client wants them even. Got it. Let's go under log wheels. Let's go under my shadows. Let's control the low range and let's go bring them down, right? So then you're just at that point, you're just like looking at your scopes and you're going, boom, got it. Really close to green. We're good. Let's move on. Just something to keep in mind. This to me is the look of the 2024 when it comes to horror films. Just remember, you can pick up a C10 for $600, $500. All the technology is like very accessible. So you don't need to cook because imagine somebody putting this in a vivid mode. You will throw up in your mouth compared to putting this stuff into standard or vivid mode. It will hold. Because like, look at the room. How much room is left here? So in conclusion, I would say anytime there's a new technology that comes around, so think of Digital Intermediary. When it was new, we had movies like Traffic, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and The Ring. They are pushed. Same thing goes with when HDR was brand new, everything was hitting its peak brightness. As the technology matured, so did our taste buds. So we end up with stuff like Game of Thrones Season 8 or The Haunting of Hill House. Basically, our focus has shifted from showcasing the technology to using the technology to tell the story in ways that we couldn't before. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, hit the bell icon so you can be notified about future content, and I will see you in the next one.